Hey everybody, it's GoblinoX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing a premiere draft of Amonkhet Remastered. If you haven't heard the news, there's definitely some news. Jumpstart Historic Horizons has been delayed to the 24th instead of coming out right now like it was supposed to. But the good news is because of that, we are getting 3 different draft formats for 5 days each in the meantime. We're getting Amonkhet Remastered, and then we're getting Kaladesh Remastered, and then we're getting Ikoria Lair Behemoths. And the really good news is for each of the formats, you're going to get 1 free draft at the start of the format. So very excited about that. Even if you're not a drafter, that's an incredible deal. Just hop in, rare draft some nonsense for your constructed decks, and then just resign. If nothing else, it's free cards. And yeah, I'm super pumped about it because I actually just enjoy drafting a bunch. So I'll just get a few free drafts in here for each of the sets. So a few meaning 1 for each 3 sets. You do only get 1 per set, but still a lot better than nothing. Anyways, let's hop into this draft of the Amonkhet Remastered format, and here we do have a very powerful rare. Going to be pretty hard to pass that up. Hour of Devastation, the namesake card for the second set in this block. Amonkhet Remastered contains Amonkhet cards and Hour of Devastation cards. It was back when the draft formats used to be 2 sets in one instead of just drafting 1 set at a time. So Hour of Devastation here, just a Wrath effect. 5 mana to deal 5 to everything. Just clear that board. Can often be a 2 or 3 for 1 if you play around it a bit. Like if you have this in your opening hand, just don't dump out a lot on the board. Wait till your opponent has a few more cards than you, and then hit the safety button, clear that board, and start assembling a board of your own. So Hour of Devastation pretty good here. I would say that Wrath effects are actually a little bit worse in this format than usual for a couple of reasons, but it's still a Wrath effect in Limited, which is always great. The reasons that Wraths aren't as good as usual is because there are just a boatload of Wrath effects in this format, so people will play around them more often. There's Wrath of God, Hour of Devastation, Rags to Riches, Bantu's Last Reckoning, Sweltering Suns, Anger of the Gods. There's a million Wraths in this format. Hour of Glory even. So it's important to consider the fact that your opponent could have Wraths, and also consider that a lot of people will probably play around Wraths a little highly. So Hour of Devastation is going to be a little weaker because of that. And then also because 2 of the main mechanics in the set, Eternalize and Embalm, bring creatures back from your graveyard. So they can come back to the board and start attacking again, even after they've been wrathed away with something like Hour of Devastation. Anyways, here we're going to take Torment of Hailfire. It's a bit of a slow card, but it does get a lot done as a game ender late in the game. So I will try it out here. Not sure how well it's going to work, but it's definitely a Commander All-Star. But essentially for 2 black and then X, you're forcing your opponent to a really difficult decision X times. They have to sacrifice a bunch of stuff or discard a bunch of cards, lose life. So it definitely can be a game ender if your opponent doesn't have cards in hand or expendable permanents to get rid of. So now we're kind of red and black here. A little more interested in my red rare than my black rare, but both seem good. Kind of like the On-Crop Crasher here. 3 mana for a 3/2 haste is just already a great aggressive card, and exerting this, making it so it doesn't untap in your next turn, can shut off a blocker, so this can even chip in for some damage after your opponent has played something big enough to block it well. So I think On-Crop Crasher is just a great aggressive card. There's also Trial of Ambition, which is great removal. 2 mana to make somebody sack something, and then you can bring it back to your hand whenever you play a Cartouche, which is great. And then Splendid Agony, which is pretty good removal. -2/-2 permanently split up wherever you want it. But I think I'm just going to take a solid aggressive beater here. I think that the aggressive red cards in this format are pretty good, all things considered. So let's see what we have in this pack. A bit of a weird pack here. There's a lot going on in blue. Not a ton in black. I mean, Horror of the Broken Lands is okay. It's a 5/5 that you can cycle if you don't have the mana for it. Or not a 5/5, it's a 5-drop that you can cycle if you don't have the mana for it, which is always good. Cycling is definitely a great mechanic. Doom Dissenter is a fine 2-drop, little 1/1 that replaces itself with a 2/2. Reason to Believe is probably not great, but I do like Trial of Knowledge a lot, just a huge draw spell there. I think I just like Trial of Knowledge here. 4 mana to draw 3, then discard a card, and if you play any cartouches, you get to bring it back to your hand and recast them. The cartouches are common auras that have a good enter the battlefield effect that will bring back any trials you have. So trials and cartouches are a pretty good theme you can try to go after a little bit here. And our colors might be a little heavily drafted here. It definitely looks like blue's looking open because now we have an Aven Initiate, which is very solid. 4 mana for a 3/2 flyer, and you can embalm it later in the game. It does cost a ton of mana to do that, but just the fact that you can bring this back later means that it doesn't really matter how much it costs to do that. Just giving you that extra card in terms of value is worth that cost later, because if it didn't have the embalm effect, then you would just be flooding out at that point. It gives you something to do when you are now, which is wonderful. I actually do like Striped Riverwinder quite a bit. I think I'm just going to start slamming down every blue card here. Striped Riverwinder is great because it's got that hexproof, so it's very hard to get rid of with removal, and it's also 5/5, so it's pretty big in terms of surviving through any combat. And you can always cycle it when you don't have the 7 mana to drop it down, so I like the Striped Riverwinder. Ooh, Pact of Negation for my collection seems good. I have none of those. I don't think this is that great in just regular limited. I probably wouldn't even play it. Probably supposed to take Eternal of Harsh Truths, because being able to draw a card whenever this hits an opponent's pretty great. It also has that afflict ability, so when it doesn't hit our opponents, we're still making them lose life. I guess I'll go for the card that's definitely better here, Eternal of Harsh Truths, but Pact of Negation would be a super solid rare draft if you're looking for that card. The deserts are really nice too, but at this point we're more married to blue than red. So I am just going to take the blue card there. The deserts are nice for getting you out of mana flood. They're just lands that come into play tapped, and then you can cycle them if you draw them in the late game. So what do we have here? What's the best card here? A bunch of little janky combat tricks and stuff. Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs isn't the worst if you have a lot of deserts. Just an 0/4 that annoyingly pings your opponent all over the place. We're definitely not a Shefet Dunes deck. I don't think we're going to be like curving out with a ton of creatures. I guess just like an Ornery Kudu here in case we go like green-blue. This is a solid card. Little 3 mana 2/3 at worst, and at best you could have some ways to get rid of the -1/-1 counters. And we do see a pick 9 River Hoopu here. I do like the Hoopu. 2 mana for a 1/3 flyer is a very good blocker for only 2. And for 5 mana you can gain 2 life and draw a card, so a really good mana sink later in the game. Try out the River Hoopu here, see if we end up in green-blue. We do get the blue Cartouche of Knowledge to go with our Trial of Knowledge. So that's a really good combo. That being said, Shimmer Scale Drake is just straight up a really good card. Nice big old 5 mana 3/4 flyer, or you cycle it if you don't have the mana to play it. Between Cartouche of Knowledge and Shimmer Scale Drake, I actually think I'm going to go with Shimmer Scale Drake, even though I have the Trial of Knowledge. Because the blue Cartouche is solid, but not like incredible. I suppose I'll take a Consign to Oblivion here. There are a few mana fixing cards in green, so it's possible we could still splash in like black here. That way we're playing Consign, and occasionally we can Aftermath the Oblivion. Aftermath is a mechanic that lets you cast the second half of this card from your graveyard. The first half you cast from your hand. Happy to take this very late Striped Riverwinder. Yeah, blue looking wide open here. Countervailing Winds actually ends up being pretty good in this format if you have a lot of cycling, but we could also go for a mill deck. I don't think I'm going to be going for a mill deck, so we'll take a Countervailing Winds. That might be a counterspell we actually play. Imminent Doom is our rare. This card kind of sucks. It's fun to try to draft around. I definitely did that a lot in paper. But you need to have a lot of 1 mana cards, 2 mana cards, 3 mana cards. Basically, when you play a 1 mana card, you do 1 damage. When you play a 2 mana card, you do 2 damage. You have to go up the curve for this to do anything, which is really hard to do consistently. So generally not the greatest card ever. The green card's not great in here. The blue cards aren't great. Riddle Form's like okay. Maybe just take a Lord of Accursed here. If we do go black. Yeah, I think Lord of the Accursed is probably one of the strongest cards in the pack. A lot of the cards in the format just happen to be zombies, like Eternal of Harsh Truths here. Anything you embalm will come back as a zombie. So we don't have a boatload of zombies right now, but it's not hard to pick them up. So we'll take a Lord of the Accursed. It's not incredibly likely we'll play it, but it's possible. There's a hollow one, definitely a very solid card to take for collection purposes. That is a card I expect will be doing things in Historic at some point, if it isn't already. If they ever throw Goblin lore into Historic. Or Burning Inquiry. So, what do I want here? I'm not married to green, I'm not married to black. The only thing that I'm definitely in is blue. So I think I just take like the best card here. I already have double with Riverwinder and they're wheeling late, so I don't think I take Riverwinder. Probably just take Trial of Ambition here. But I could see an argument for Hope Tender. This card is nice as well. But I'm going to take the Trial of Ambition. Making your opponent sack something for 2 is a pretty efficient rate, and you could potentially do it multiple times if you have some cartouches in the deck. Definitely like Evolving Wilds here because it's possible that we're going for a 3-color build, like 2 colors splashing in a third. There's also Puncturing Blow if we go for red here. I think the only color I'm definitely not playing is white because, you know, we could go red, could go green, could go black. Really depends on where things go still. I don't love Censor, so I don't think I'm taking a blue card in here. I think it's Evolving Wilds or Puncturing Blow for me. And I'll go with Evolving Wilds here. Now, we do see a ton of good blue cards. I think here I'll just go with the Shimmer Scale Drake. We're seeing good red removal, Open Fire, and Puncturing Blow there. Kind of all we've been seeing in red, which is weird. Now, Labyrinth Guardian's pretty good. 2 mana for a 2/3. If it becomes the target of a spell, you sacrifice it. But that's not a really big drawback because the vast majority of the time, if somebody's going to use a spell on this, you're still getting a 1-for-1 trade. Even if they use their pump spell on your Labyrinth Guardian, that still costs them a card to do that. So I do like Labyrinth Guardian quite a bit here. Just large toughness for its mana cost, and it comes back from the grave later with very little drawback. So we'll play a Labyrinth Guardian here, and I guess black-blue it is. If we see a Rags to Riches this late, I'll absolutely take it. 4 mana for -2/-2 to everybody. That's not going to kill everything on the board, but it can kill a few things. And then Riches, you get to spend 7, and your opponent has to give you one of their creatures. So this card, not as powerful as it could be, but still I think generally a pretty strong card. Lethal Sting is also great though, so it might be a little awkward to pass that up here instead. But I'll take the big old balmy rare card. Now we'll take a Trial of Knowledge for another great draw spell here. And now I'm very much looking for some cartouche style cards. Another Evolving Wilds to get our mana in order, or a Wander in Death. This is a great draw late game because late game you just bring 2 creatures back from your grave to hand. Early game you could just cycle it. Wander in Death, pretty versatile little recursion spell there. I do like it quite a bit for that, but a Mana Fixing could also be really important here. Yeah, I think it's still relatively likely we could end up in 3 colors, so I'm just going to take Evolving Wilds. And Wander in Death, at least the last time I drafted this format, it tended to go pretty late in the pick order. So hopefully, if we really need it, we can just get it later. I don't have a lot of 4 mana creatures. I can grab a Pitiless Vizier here, I guess. A little 4 mana 4/2. I guess I could take more zombies to go with the Lord of the Accursed, but even just as a 2/3, the Lord seems fine. Take another Riverwinder. Definitely a late game deck here. Just try to control things in the early game as best as we can so that we can get to these big old Riverwinders in the late game. So I definitely like these early cards like Doom Dissenter now, though, that are just going to block well. Ancient Crab blocks well as well, but I've got a few 3-drops already. I'm definitely wanting more 2 mana creatures. Get some blockers out as early as possible. Festering Mummy does put a permanent -1/-1 counter on something when it dies, but being able to draw a card, discard a card relatively often is a pretty strong draw engine. So I do like the Seeker of Insights. Now we have Liliana's Defeat. Only does something if you're playing against black, so that is going right into the sideboard. Sandworm Convergence. All right, we're splashing in green. We are splashing in green because Sandworm Convergence is an unbeatable card. If your opponent does not have enchantment removal, Sandworm Convergence is going to win 95% of the games it's cast. The only games you don't win where you cast Sandworm Convergence are games where you're just dying to flyers the turn you cast it, or games where your opponent has the enchantment removal or the counter spell or something like that. This just literally shuts off all of their non-flying attacks and spits out a 5/5 every turn, and it does that during your end step. So even if they have enchantment removal for it, you get a worm out of it before their turn. So it has to be instant speed enchantment removal to stop it from doing everything. I think Sandworm Convergence is a spectacularly powerful card, and wow, the Drakehaven payoff. We've got a lot of random cyclers here, and now we're going to take them very highly. Drakehaven is a fantastic bomb in blue. There's enough cycling in the deck to really focus on it and spit out a lot of 2/2 flyers, but this card only costs you 1 additional mana to do so every time you cycle a card. So you can do stuff like cycle a Riverwinder for a single blue and then spend 1 more to make a 2/2 flyer. So with a Drakehaven on the board, you get to spend 2 and get a 2/2 flyer. As much as I would love Shafet Monitor here, because it grabs it would grab like the second forest we need for Sandworm Convergence and ramp us up to it. Drakehaven is just a brutally strong card if you have the cycling to go with it, and we already have a good bit of cycling. We can definitely slam down some more. That being said, as much as cycling does work well with the Drakehaven, discarding cards works well with it as well, so we've got a good amount going on already. We have Seeker of Insight, Countervailing Winds, Trial of Knowledge discards a card, Shimmerscale Drake, Striped Riverwinder. We've got a lot already. We would like more, but I don't think we want more high enough to take a Desert of the Mindful over a Lethal Sting here, because we just don't have any like target-based removal. The only removal we have makes them sacrifice 1 card, or gives everything -2/-2. We definitely want like some targeted removal here, so it's something our deck is really missing. So I'm going to take Lethal Sting over the Blue Desert, but the Blue Desert would be very good in this deck. What also would be very good in this deck is another Striped Riverwinder. Very happy to scoop that right up. And now a Shadowstorm Vizier here. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So a little bit of a cycling payoff here. That being said, it's only a 1/3 flyer, so when we have like Drakehaven and a bunch of big late game cards, it might straight up just be better to take a cycling card over this quote-unquote cycling payoff, because this is only a cycling payoff if you're really aggressive, and getting that extra damage out of this helps a lot. And I don't think our deck is actually that aggressive, so I think I'm just going to take a Desert of the Mindful here. We already have a play set of Riverwinders, so just getting a cycling land seems good here. Yeah, that's kind of weird. We got literally like the gold uncommon for sort of our deck, but it doesn't actually make that much sense in our deck, so just not going to go with it there. Cryptic Serpent is fun. If you cycle a lot of instants and sorceries, you can get it out cheap, or if you just play a lot. But again, I think we're just going to keep slamming down cycling cards. I guess we could take Unquenchable Thirst for another little piece of removal here, but I think I'd rather just take more cyclers now, because Lethal Sting is a lot better than Unquenchable Thirst. So I don't think that removal spell is good enough to take over the cycling cards. And now we can take a Wander in Death, which will be really good in our deck because it cycles when we need a cycler, or it also lets us bring back some big creatures that we just cycled earlier in the game. I don't think Shadow of the Grave is playable in Limited, although it's potentially fun. It brings back everything that you cycled that turn to your hand. That's like the idea behind it, which is fun, but not particularly great. We do have enough creatures we could slam down a Cartouche of Ambition here to go with our double Trial of Knowledge and our 1 Trial of Ambition. I am taking that over an Aerial Guide, which is a really strong card in blue here, but we've got 3 trials, so just any Cartouche should be pretty great. So I am going to go with that there. Nice little 2-mana 1/4 to just block things all day long. Or the 1/3 that can draw us cards. I think I'd like to take the one that can draw us cards, because it also discards cards with combos with the cycle theme. Don't think I'm playing any of these. At this point, I'm probably not playing Sandworm Convergence off of just a couple Evolving Wilds either, because now we did end up with some on-color bombs. Consign or Avian Initiate? I think I want Avian Initiate. I already got 1 Consign, and it's a very late game card of which we have a lot. Wow, white aggressive stuff was wide open here, but so was blue-black cycling, so at least there's that. Wow, yeah, last pick, Hieroglyphic Illumination, which we'll absolutely play. Okay, well, I'm not sure we I'm not sure I found the perfect seat in this draft. Because white aggro is really powerful, and seeing a Gust Walker with only like 3 cards left in the pack means like if we were just white aggro, we could also have a super sick deck, but we ended up in a super sick deck anyways. I was really dirtling around, unsure with what I was exactly doing until pack 3, but pack 3 just like slammed us with all of the good cycling cards and gave us a really big theme and plan of what to do in a major way. So that was really a make it or break it pack there, and it absolutely made it for us. So I am excited to build this deck here and see how the blue-black cycling works for us. So we need to cut 8 cards out of here, and we have 18 creatures. I'd like to cut a few of those. 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 2-drops. Could cut one of these. Maybe just the Doom Dissenter. I guess we have like Lord of the Accursed for the Doomed Dissenter. Yeah, we don't have a ton of zombies here. We could just cut Doom Dissenter and Lord of the Accursed. Just play our kind of creatures that are just kind of good by themselves. Our only quote-unquote tribal creatures are the ones that care about cycling. That's kind of the tribe we're going with. Yeah, we'll get rid of the Lord and the Doom Dissenter, and then we need to cut 6 non-creatures here. Definitely going to keep in the Cartouche and the 3 Trials. I don't really think we're like a combat tricky supernatural stamina kind of deck. Absolutely keeping Drakehaven and as many cyclers as I can. 5 cuts then. And maybe the Torment of Hailfire is too slow. Because I feel like we have a good amount of late game without it. And it does nothing until the late game. Whereas a lot of our other late game cards, the great thing about them is that we can just cycle them in the early game. Like all of our big late game cards are like these flyers, these 5/5 hexproofs, these 4/4s. But all of these cards double as just like a 1 mana way to just cycle through and draw a card if we don't have enough mana. Torment of Hailfire does absolutely nothing until we have like 8 mana, and then it probably closes the game out. But just the fact that it's a complete dead draw early in the game is a bit rough. I think I am going to cut Torment here. Now, wow, Rags to Riches is exceptional in this deck. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn as a 4-drop. Right, we have all of our 2-mana creatures have 3 toughness. Our 3-mana creature has 3 toughness. So if we just curve out 2-drop, 3-drop, that doesn't look suspicious at all because we're just curving out creatures naturally. So our opponent will probably still curve out as aggressively as they can, and then we're just like, bop, -2/-2 to everybody. Seems really good. That being said, we've got some weak 4-drops. Every 4-drop that we have has 2 toughness, but there's only 3 of them. So we have 3 creatures in our whole deck that die to Rags. So Rags actually ended up being pretty sweet here, pretty solid all around. I definitely like Wanderer in Death with all these large cycling creatures, so I'm not going to cut that. I could see cutting Countervailing Winds, but I want to make sure I still have plenty of cycling to go with Drakehaven. I suppose even if I cut every non-creature cycling card, I still have 7 cyclers here. I have 4 Riverwinder, 2 Shimmerscale Drake, and a Horror of the Broken Lands. We have triple Seeker of Insight that counts as cycling towards Drakehaven because it works when we discard cards as well. So yeah, we have enough going on. We also have 2 Trials that count for it. So we can cut Countervailing Winds here. We need to cut 3 more. Maybe the Illumination with a lot of cycling. We have a little, like a decent amount of card draw. I guess it doesn't put us up a card, it just kind of filters through our stuff. Filters through a 7-mana card to give us hopefully a land. But doesn't put us up a card or anything. I definitely want to try out Consigned to Oblivion. This seems like a pretty solid card here. Slow down your opponent, then wreck their hand. Oh yeah, we have 2 Trial of Knowledge. We have better draw spells than Hieroglyphic Illumination for sure. 2 more cards to cut. And the fact that we have 6 cards here that cycle for a single mana means we could probably cut a land, maybe even 2. I don't know if I want to cut 2 lands, but I could definitely see cutting 1 land here because we have 6 1-mana cards that just immediately filter themselves, dig farther towards lands. What are our colors looking like? 19 blue and 9 black. All right, cut a black. And we've got 8 blue sources, 6 black sources. The only double black card we have is Rags, and we have double Evolving Wilds as well. Definitely like the Evolving Wilds quite a bit here. All right, 1 more cut. I'm not going to cut another land here. I'm not going to cut the Cartouche because of the 3 trials. I'm not going to cut the Drake Haven because it's our strongest card. I'm not going to cut Lethal Sting because we don't have a lot of targeted removal. I don't want to cut Rags because it rasts the board. I don't like the idea of cutting Consign because it seems like a very powerful card. I don't like cutting Wandering Death because it works well with the Cyclers. So I don't like cutting literally any non-land card, but I also don't like going down to 15 creatures. I guess it's not the end of the world. We could just cut one of the 2 toughness creatures here, like the Vizier. Giving a Vizier, indestructible when we cycle a card seems pretty strong. But I suppose it doesn't cycle itself. It does die to Rags. By the time we have 4 mana, we're pretty close to casting most of our cycling cards, all of the 5 mana ones for sure. So we're not going to want to cycle a 5 mana card for the Vizier. So, this is ideally just at its best when we have a Vizier on the board and we have, River Winders in hand we can't cast. Yeah, I mean, I think I want to just cut Vizier. Maybe I'm not giving this card enough credit, but I think it's my least favorite of the creatures that we have. I suppose we could also cut one of the Seekers of Insight, but what I remember of Amonkhet, I've only really drafted the format in paper. I've done the Amonkhet Remastered once or twice, just a few times, not a ton. But back in paper, triple Amonkhet drafts were really aggressive, where you would want just a ton of 2-mana cards, even if you're not an aggressive deck. But then Hour of Devastation drafts were a lot slower, and you could do a lot more splashy, fun, rampy stuff and all that. So I figured that Amonkhet Remastered's right in the middle, where I think we still want a good bit of 2 drops. I don't know if we need 5 in a non-aggressive deck. Probably still should, just to be safe from Boros. Red-white aggro can absolutely slap in this format. Yeah, I'll cut a Vizier here, but I could see an argument for a Seeker of Insight. It all depends just how aggressive this format shapes up to be. But yeah, this seems like a really fun deck to start the format with, or to get back into the format with, I should say. So let's go ahead and throw on our Amonkhet lands here, because I did pick those up when they put Amonkhet on, because I am a massive Bolas fan, so of course I'm going to get the Bolas full arts. And there we go. There are the thematic, flavorful lands here. Let's get in there with some blue-black cycling. The card on our deck box is not even in our deck. So I'm very excited to get into this format. Really excited in general for the draft formats that they're bringing back since they delayed Jumpstart. Because Amonkhet and Kaladesh were the last time that I played Paper Magic. So they're a bit nostalgic for me. Even if I haven't played the remastered sets enough to have a good grasp on what the limited format is when it's a mixture of the 2 sets. I drafted the original sets in Paper a decent amount, and I think they're both pretty fun, so I'm excited to get back into them, see if I can't get a decent grasp on them on the return time, the return trip around here. So I think I just play another Evolving Wilds here for a blue source now, because we already have double black in hand. We have 2 swamps here. Yep, and may as well play the Evolving Wilds while we don't need 2 mana up here. Opponent starts with a Nimble Blade Kenra, a 1/3 with prowess that can hit us pretty hard, pretty quickly. Hopefully we'll be fine. I don't like that they played a 3 toughness creature here. Is it worth cycling this early on? We do have a Wandering Death in our deck. We only have 4 lands right now. We need to draw 3 more to get to the Riverwinder, and it's going to be 5 turns until we do. Could definitely use an early playable card. Lethal Sting we can't get on this board. Yeah, just drawing like a 2-mana 1/3 here would be great, so just, there we go, perfect. Doing anything we can to make that a possibility seems good to me, just to get anything on this board so we can actually block here. Like, we may hit 7 mana on turn 7, and then we're a little sad about cycling the Riverwinder, but if we stumble on mana at all from this point on, then cycling the Riverwinder is going to have been definitely the best play in hindsight. And even if we do hit 7 mana turn 7, we've got plenty of other stuff to cast in this hand, and we do have the Wandering Death in deck to hopefully just bring that back when we want it. So here I think I just cast the Aven Initiate. I don't think it's worth spending the removal spell on their 1/3. I also don't think it's worth attacking with the Seeker. I'll just block the Kenra. If they want to cast 2 non-creature spells here to prowess and kill my Seeker, that's fine. Ooh, Drakehaven? Drakehaven just absolutely slapped this game. Yeah, Drakehaven seems massive here. I guess we could Lethal Sting the Sharpshooters first. That does seem important to me. Yeah, if I Lethal Sting the Sharpshooters, I get in for 3 damage right now. If I just play Drakehaven this turn, I'm not putting anything on the board. The Sharpshooters is going to slap me. Initiate doesn't get to attack in. And then next turn I could maybe, if I get 6 mana Lethal Sting and use Drakehaven, I think it's going to be a little while before I'm wanting to just like spit out Drakes. So I think just Lethal Stinging the Sharpshooters is good here, because we're going to want to kill it for sure, even with a Drakehaven, because those 2/2s aren't going to attack into it well. There's another flyer there, that seems good. Just drop a Rags to Riches. They're playing nothing but like 4 toughness creatures here. We have 2 toughness ones. Yeah, drop the Rags to Riches. Now we can cast Riches in the future. We do want this land. Now we're just going to take whatever Kenra damage they'll be doing. So I totally forgot about Seeker of Insight comboing with Drakehaven. So actually the turn we play Drakehaven, we do get to spit out a Drake. So I did mess that up in my consideration between Lethal Sting and Drakehaven. But I think this is still fine. Well, now we have Aven Initiate, and I might just want to play Shimmer Skill Drake as a 3/4, honestly, over cycling it. I mean, they have no flyers or flying blockers here, so we probably just want to put out as much flying power as we can each turn and keep the pressure on. Can wait on the Drakehaven for later. I think I would rather play an Aven Initiate than the Shimmer Scale Drake, because getting a 2/2 flyer and drawing a card is probably moderately better than getting a 3/4 flyer. Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know, the AV Initiate is also just resilient to removal, which is good. Opponent cycles a Pursue Glory that gives all their attacking creatures +2/+0. So just an aggressive card that's not good in this instance. So I'm trying to think what they could have here. If they have like an Hour of Devastation, that wouldn't be great, but our Initiates can come back from the grave, so that's not terrible. Just random big creatures like a Sandworm are a bit of an issue, but now we draw a Lifelink card with Cartouche of Ambition. That's great. I think we do that. We go for Lifelink in the sky now. Yep, we might not even cast our Drakehaven this game, because we just want to keep the pressure on and start gaining some life. Whittle down that Sandworm so it's not as bad for us. They're down to 7 here. We have 8 damage in the sky and we're at 23 life. We can't block the Sandworm, but it's only a 6/6 now. Alright, struggle on the AV Initiate. We'll kill it, get rid of our Lifelinker here. We've got 3/4 damage in the sky. They have a Survive, shuffle their graveyard into their library. Okay, they've got 2 mana left. So there goes Riches and our Initiate, which isn't great for us. I think we take 9 here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can draw discard when we cast Drakehaven with Seeker of Insight, so we can hit for 5. We need to do 2 more damage to win. We can't win immediately next turn, but Seeker of Insight gives us a Drake off of Drakehaven and gives us more damage. I think it's worth not blocking here because we're still at 14. We can still survive another attack that's like just as big as that one. So I think I would rather Drakehaven here, because that puts them to 2 life, so they're dead to just a single Drake hitting them. And we also get to dig for a card here by drawing discarding. Yeah, we can get 2 Drakes here instead, so let's discard Evolving Wilds. Oh, I guess we can't, but we can have the 2 mana to cycle this Shimmer Scale Drake and hit for 6 if we want to. Don't think that we want to. Just put him to 2 life and then chump block with a Drake here. Chump block takes 6, 7, 8. Even if we don't have a chump blocker, we survive, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We survive unless they prowess twice. They have to have some kind of big buff spell here to survive. Alright, open fire to kill one of the flyers. I guess if they can kill all the flyers, they'll also survive. Actually, open fire on our blocking flyer. Open fire on our blocking flyer. Could have been a lot of damage. Not quite lethal though. Still. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If they have another open fire, they win on the spot. They just do it to our face. Do we just hope for no removal for the Vizier? If they have another open fire, I think they would have just shot the blocker, right? So if they had another open fire, they shoot the untapped creature and shoot our face. We would be at 11 with no blockers, and they would just kill us. So if they had 2 open fires, they would have already just done it and killed the Drake. So we just don't block, because if they have a removal for another one of these, then we still win if we have 2 of them. All right, and we're holding on to the Drake so I can cycle it here to make sure that the Vizier hits for 2 as well. All right. Okay. They just had nothing there. Really close game at the end. They got that big Sandworm out and actually had a lot of removal to start chipping away at the Flyers and getting back at us there. So pretty scary game, but 1-0 to start it off. A win for the cycling deck. Ooh, this is a great start here. We do have the turn 3 Drakehaven with a Seeker of Insight as well. Seeker of Insight being able to trigger that pretty consistently, as we saw last game. Really great stuff here. Against a white deck, we might just slap down a Labyrinth Guardian turn 2 instead, so we have a great blocker set up. Depends how aggressive they get here. Fanbear is definitely a good start for them. 2 mana, tap this, tap a creature. Can stay aggressive that way. And it has a power, so it can just start hitting us in the early game. They play a 3-1 against a 3-1. I think I would like... Whatever I play, I'm just going to probably block and trade, so we'll just play the card that can bomb and come back. It only dies if it's targeted by a spell, so even if they use a Fan Bearer on it, it will survive. And that'll soak up 2 of their mana. So now we have a 4-drop creature to play as well. Sidewinder Naga, a 3-2. It can be a 4-2 trample if they get a desert, which would be terrifying. Do I have time to just spit out a Drakehaven? I do, but then I'm not going to be able to make a Drake for a while. I'll have 3 mana, play a Drakehaven, then what do I do the turn after? Like, I guess I could cycle a Riverwinder and make 1. Cycle a Desert and make 1. Yeah, I have a couple ways to make a Drake here. So we play Drakehaven this turn. Next turn we cycle, make a 2-2 and trade with Naga. We're taking 4 damage this turn. I think all in all it's worth it here. Theoretically, like getting a Seeker of Insight out before Drakehaven's pretty good. But I think just being able to get Drakes as quickly as possible is also pretty great here. Ooh, Rags. Oh my god, Rags is exceptional here. Well, now we're just playing this desert. We're definitely not going to cycle it because we'd like to cast Rags in the future. Do I just play a 1/3 that's not going to die to Rags and then Rags everybody, or do I still want to cycle to stop a little bit of this damage before I Rags? Yeah, I kind of want to just play a creature that's not going to die to Rags here. Like, we take 7 damage here. They might even Fan Bear, tap down Seeker. And then we just take 6. I mean, I guess we just take 6 because I can block Fan Bear with the Seeker. Hopefully they just play another 2 toughness creature here. That would be exceptional. No! Alright, that's actually really bad for us. It's got First Strike 2, so we can't do much about that. Alright, well now the Sidewinder, the first striking one, is going to survive the Rags, which means we're going to Rags here. We're going to be at 8 life against that Sidewinder. I guess Trial of Ambition can clear it out if they only have that left afterwards. This is rough. We're not going to be able to make a Drake with the Seeker. Is it now better to just make Drakes? How many Drakes can I make? I can only make 1. So it's not better. Yeah, it's definitely not better. Let's just Rags. We're at 8 life here. Is it going to be worth a chump block with the Seeker? Okay, well, they're just going to stop a chump block with it, and they stop me from... Oh, wait, no, I do get to use this. Nice. Well, I do like these trials, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have to just sit here playing draw spells, so I think I discard one of these. Alright, we're definitely taking 4 this turn. But then hopefully I can just trial and kill that. If they don't have any other creatures in hand, that's going to be wonderful. Oh my god, yes. Should have things on lock if they have no other creatures in hand. This helps us so much, because now I just start drawing, discarding, and every time I do that... yeah, I start drawing, discarding. Every time I do that, I'm spitting out a Drake, so I'm going to have just a million 2/2 flyers by the time they get any more threats on the board. They're just going to scoop them up there. Rags was excellent there, but I did really need the second piece of removal to clear out that 4/3 first striker afterwards. Otherwise, I was just going to be spending all my cycling cards making chump blocking Drakes forever. So, Trial of Ambition really sealed the deal for us there. Alright, well, we do need to draw a blue source to hit Drakehaven, but I think Drakehaven's a powerful enough card we're supposed to keep even a hand like this and hope for blue. Yeah, I mean, I think that this hand in general is worth the risk because it's going to be incredible if we hit blue. To where, yeah, I think if we hit blue in like the first few turns, we're pretty likely to win. So this is kind of just like a coin flip hand. We'll see how lucky I am today. Our opponent on a slow start is definitely helpful. I was going to say the other thing that's helpful with our deck that should make keeping this not that bad is that we have a ton of cycling. We have some cards that cycle for a single black, some cards that cycle for double colorless. Those would all help us a lot. If we don't draw them, that is another issue. Alright, well, it's a little late, but it has arrived. And it may have arrived quickly enough to still do a lot of work for us. Yeah, for our opponents not getting that aggressive, we're doing pretty fantastic all around. Get a Seeker of Insight out, and that'll be the fuel for the Drake Haven Fire. Yeah, that will definitely counter our spells at this point in the game. Guess we can bounce an Aerial Guide here, because we're not really doing anything else. Probably should. So Rebel, they can make 3 of our lands not untap next turn. I don't like that. Just choking us on mana here to get extra damage in. In the meantime. Only down to 16, we're still okay. Don't Rebel me. They're going to Rebel me, in which case I'm not going to consign here because I'd rather be able to use this mana next turn to play a 4-drop. Or I guess, no, these 2 stay tapped. I'm kind of a fool, but that's okay. Still don't really want to consign the 3-drop because I would expect them to play like some big creature here. I guess if they never do, we could just throw the Aerial Guide back to stop one swing from it. I think I still just go to 14 here, because like I'm not really accomplishing all that much throwing Aerial Guide back in hand. I'm using it to gain 2 life, then they immediately have the mana to just recast it anyway. I would have accomplished something if I did it last turn, since they spent some mana on Rebel and cycling a desert. But I was kind of a fool and thought that somehow some of my lands would untap. Alright, well, now we have Striped Riverwinder with Drake Haven. We have Rags to kill Aerial Guide. I think we just Stripe Riverwinder, spend 1, get a Drake, hold 2 mana up for Consign here. That seems like a lot safer of a play than just trying to Rags. Because if I just try to Rags, they could easily just have a counterspell here. They can't really counter an activated ability or a triggered ability like cycling and then Drake Haven's response to cycling. So this'll also just 1-for-1 trade with the Aerial Guide, plus I draw a card because I cycled. Sure. So we do still take 2 here, which is fine. We do hit a land, which is wonderful. I'm still going to be holding on to this Consign, I think. I guess if I Consign now, I can Oblivion next turn if they don't play... anything better than an Aerial Guide, yeah, I can just Oblivion here. So I guess might as well at this point, just to get a good 5-mana spell in our grave to cast next turn. Another Reduce here, now they're going to Rebel us again. This is an annoying tempo deck for sure. So we're going to have 2 mana next turn, which isn't enough to do anything, but they're only hitting us for 2 a turn, so we're still fine. Down to 10, they're halfway there. Labyrinth Guardian, a 2/3, dies when it's the target of a spell. To make them sack something, they'll sack the Labyrinth Guardian though, which is not ideal for us. I kind of like Trial of Knowledge here to attempt to hit another land, but if they have another counterspell, that's brutal. Then we draw 3, discard 1, we make a Drake when we do so because we have 5 mana. The Drake can block Aerial Guide. If Labyrinth Guardian hits us for 2. If I cycle Striped Riverwinder to make a Drake, that's going to cost me 2 mana total, so I have 3 mana to do whatever I want with, which means I can only just Trial here. And I don't really want to Trial and just throw Labyrinth Guardian in their graveyard, because then they'll just straight up recast it, so I think I do Trial of Knowledge over Trial of Ambition. Because yeah, Trial of Ambition, they just sack the Guardian, bring it back. Okay, thank goodness they don't have another counterspell. Okay, perfect. Several lands here. I could play a 2-mana card after this, but I don't really need to, so I think I get rid of Island, play Evolving Wilds. Because now we have 7 lands in hand, so we want to not draw more lands after this, so we'll dig lands out of the deck. And we also have a double black spell in hand, so I kind of like getting 4 black, 3 blue for next turn. We get hit for 4 here if they have another removal spell. They do. Sand Strangler will do it. This has been a brutal tempo lock this game. Stumbling on the mana early game is already painful, but it's especially painful if you're playing against a tempo deck. And it may cost us here. Because, like, what can we really do now? We're at 6 against all this. We can't kill any of the 3 toughness stuff. I could... If I Rags here, I have 3 mana left over, so I can Rags and Trial. If I Rags and Trial, I kill Aerial Guide, Labyrinth Guardian, then they still have a Strangler. They hit us for 3, bring back a Guardian. I could just play a 5/5 Hexproof, but then they hit me in the sky for 5. Do I just play the Hexproof and hope for the best? Because then I could potentially Cartouche of Ambition to get lifelink. I guess if I Cartouche of Ambition here, I could Cartouche of Ambition on a flyer so that they have 2 toughness cards if I cycle beforehand. Make it so 2 things die to Rags to Riches. But the only way to cycle beforehand is if I cycle a Striped Riverwinder, which is such a huge blocker. 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 mana to Lethal Sting, 3 mana to Cartouche. I think that I just hope for the best with Striped Riverwinder. But there's definitely an argument for just cycling the Riverwinder instead. Screw me. Oh my god. We were dead no matter what there if they just have... Well, no, that was Essence Scatter. Well, if they had something that could counter anything, we were dead no matter what. But because it was specifically literally Essence Scatter, that line was definitely wrong. The other line that I was considering there is to cycle, get a Drake. The problem is, like, cycling the 5/5 Hexproof is such a big deal. But I guess theoretically it would work out better in the long run, especially because we found out they had Essence Scatter. So cycling to get a Drake costs us 2 mana. We have 5 mana left after that. We use 3 of it to Cartouche of Ambition. Then we have a 3/3 lifelink flyer out. We make Sand Strangler a 2/2. They might not attack in. They probably attack in. They probably like blow up our flyer and attack in and win. But if they don't have the removal, then that plays better against a counterspell. Riverwinder plays better against removal. So, I mean, it's kind of a coin flip. I think... Yeah, no, I wouldn't go so far as to say that's just straight up a misplay, because without the information of what they have in hand, it's just a coin flip between do they have a counterspell or a removal spell. If they have a removal spell, then cycling to get a Drake and giving it lifelink gets us killed. If they have a counterspell, then casting Riverwinder gets us killed. I don't think there's a lot we can do there. I think it's pretty negligible between the two. But obviously, in hindsight, they had the counterspell. Rough one there. Always feels pretty awful when you have 2 lines to take and you take the wrong one by chance. All right, well, I just have Drakehaven in every opener, I guess. Seems good to me. Ooh, turn 2 Shadowstorm Vizier as well. We're just looking like the perfect blue-black cycling deck here. Sunset Pyramid. Coming in with 3 brick counters, can use those bricks to draw cards or scry. Or actually, yeah, they just use the bricks to draw cards, and once they're out of bricks, they can just scry. Really fun card there. Fantastic card, definitely a high pick in my opinion, because any deck can make great use out of that. It's just great value. Opponent starts with the Thresher Lizard. Well, that is something I can absolutely kill with the Rags, so I am pretty excited to see that. I'm going to go ahead and make a Drake right now rather than doing a surprise Drake, because if I make a Drake right now, I get extra damage out of the Vizier. So I'll just get super aggressive here. Slam them in the sky and maybe close this game out real quick with some Drakes. If the Drakes die and don't end up killing them, then we have a Rags to clear everything out, but we're definitely not going to cast a Rags with a bunch of 2/2 flying Drakes on the board. Alright. I like the play. They're getting aggressive. We are going to fight here. Pitiless Vizier, another card that dies to Rags to Riches. Now I lose one Drake to kill both of those. Got another River Winder. Did I just play into Rags to Riches now? I don't have a black source for it, so I don't think I can. Even if I wanted to, I don't think I can rely on just going for Rags here. So I think I should still be cycling. I shouldn't have played a land yet, just in case I hit a black source and want to put it out. I could make another Drake, or I could make an Eternal of Harsh Truths. I think I'd rather make an Eternal of Harsh Truths. Well, we get aggressive with another Drake, and we hit for 5 here. So we hit for 5 next turn. We hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, no. Let's just go full aggro at this point. We still don't have the second black, so I think it's unlikely. Yeah, pretty unlikely this is going to be a Rags game. Because now, by the time we hit second black, we've already got 3 Drakes out. We definitely don't want to 3-for-1 ourselves. Kill 3 of our Drakes to get rid of some of their stuff, unless it's a really bad situation for us. And our opponent is using the Sunset Pyramid, digging for some outs here, looking for probably Anger of the Gods, Hour of Devastation, anything like that in their deck, to try to clear out this wall of Drakes. Shimmer Scale Drake is the draw. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Can't get lethal, even if I cycle both of these. Let's cycle the Wander in Death. More likely to want to cast Shimmer Scale Drake in the near future. And we draw another Shimmer Scale Drake. All right. Send in the squad. They're incredibly dead next turn. We're at 10, just make all the blocks we can to be safe. Because these other creatures are irrelevant now. Thresher Lizard we can definitely kill. Vizier we might not, like if they have a cycling card, so we'll throw the chump block on the Vizier and the trade on the 3/2. And let's see. Sweltering Suns, that'll do it. That'll clear out the board. But we still have Drakehaven, 2 more cyclers. If I draw another land, it's incredibly likely I can just hit for lethal here. Oh, yeah. So we can make 2 Drakes during their end step. Yeah, let's make 2 Drakes during their end step. And hope to just swing in for 4 out of nowhere. Hopefully they just like tap out for a big ground blocker here. Or tap out for the Pyramid or something. Uh-oh. Don't tap out for 10 damage of Hasters. That's 3. That's lifelink. That's really bad. The lifelink here. Go to 8 life. Might as well get as many options as we can, so let's get the Drakes out before blocks here so we can choose to block if we want to. We're not going to race well if they gain 4 life every turn. Rags isn't going to kill that, and we only get a tapped swamp next turn. We're out of cycling after this, though. The lifelink cartouche is really good here. I think we have to trade. Like, we just don't race well, and we also don't block well. We just have 1/3s. Even if we put 2 of them out, we just, like, double block, and the Crasher's still around. It's like no matter what, we're going to have to trade into this at some point. Might as well trade 2 drakes into it immediately rather than give them 8 total life and trade 1 drake and a 1/3 next turn. Or I guess 1 drake or a 1/3. They couldn't kill both on a double block later. But yeah, just stop the life gain as quickly as possible. There's the Rags mana, which means that we'll have access to riches after we cast it. We also just have 1/3s here, so everything is safe to the Rags. So let's just play the 1/3s then. Evolving Wilds to make it less likely to hit another land. And pass. Hopefully they've got more 2 toughness creatures. I would love to see them just play a 2 toughness creature. I guess Eternal only draws a card if it damages them. Oh no, if it attacks and isn't blocked. So if I Rags and attack them with a 0/1 Eternal, it will do things. However, that's a 4/4, so we're not gonna Rags and attack into that. Do I just play the Riverwinder, get a 5/5 Hexproof out? That seems good. Hexproof means they can't shut off my blocks with the Ceradon. If I just make a 2/2 flyer here, they're still at 8 life, so 2/2 flyer, draw a card versus 5/5 Hexproof, period, which is better. I guess I could Rags get a 2/2 flyer with Seeker of Insight. And then I can Riches next turn and steal one of their cards. I just have to make a chump block next turn if that's the case. You know, being able to steal one of their cards seems good. But at the same time, I can also Rags later if I just get a 5/5 Hexproofer out here to be able to block well. And then I'm not at any threat of damage or any threat of having to chump block anything. Sure. Let's get the Riverwinder out first, but I definitely like the idea of casting a Rags, even if I don't get to give anything -2/-2. Like, even if I'm not clearing anything off the board, this lets me draw a card, discard a card, and then it gives me access to Riches to be able to cast that. Theoretically, if I draw another non-creature card, that'll be better, because then I can just draw a card, discard a card, and discard Rags. Insult. Damage can't be prevented. They get to do 4 damage to something for 3. So that makes it a trade with Riverwinder here, or a chump block with Seeker. If I chump block with Seeker, I lose Seeker and Eternal here. If I trade with Riverwinder, then the Ceradon's gone. But I don't have Riverwinder anymore. It's a 5/5 Hexproof, and if they want to cast Injury here, they have 1 mana left, which means I hit them for 5. I think I go for the chump block here. If they're going to cast Injury, we're putting them to like 2 life. I guess 3 life, because if they cast Injury, Eternal will be dead. All right. Let's see. I don't love that. How risky is it to just slam them down to 3 life here? Against a red deck, that is really, really risky. Actually, we're just immediately dead because they can sacrifice Ramunap Ruins to do 2 to us. Damn. I should have taken the trade with the Riverwinder there. But I'll just cast the Riches next turn if I don't die. My opponent has a lot of cards. Sunset Pyramid definitely putting in work here. Alright, well, I don't really have a choice. If I don't block, I die. Do they have a... They did not have any way to kill that. Alright, well, that works pretty well for me. So they have a Neheb and a Marauding Bone thing. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 mana. I don't have enough to cast both of these, so I just Riches here, right? And get one of their creatures. Can't block unless you control another zombie. So I just get the Bone Slasher if I Riches them. Did I just Lethal Sting then a Neheb then? 2/2 first strike. It's pretty small. I think I just riches. These are both not great. Now I at least get to just keep attacking with a Bone Slasher. I guess they could turn Neheb into a 4/2 first striker if they discard another card or cast another card here. They're going to sting it. All right. Neheb's a 3/1 first strike then. Consign, return a card to hand, and then have somebody discard 2 cards. Well, that's a good card for later. I think I just want a lethal sting here so I can start attacking in, and now I get to hold on to Consign and stay safe. I probably should have attacked in first. Yeah, because they're not going to take the chump block. I guess lethal stinging first plays better if they have some kind of pump spell. Uh-oh. Ruins to put us to 4. It's an aggressive play. I guess just while they have the extra mana, might as well. See what happens here. Scrying the upkeep. Looking for hasters. Or just any blocker, really. They die if they don't hit one. Kenra Scrapper's a blocker. We can bounce that in their end step so that they can't recast it. Oh, they're just going to scoop them up. All right. Did not play that one ideally for sure. There were a couple decisions that I could have made differently throughout there that I think would have been better, but luckily, just the power level of those big old 5/5 hexproofs and stuff like that panned out for us. I guess technically, no. Let's not do that. I was gonna say technically it might have been better to keep the 5/5 hexproof around, but no, it was just straight up wrong to not trade the 5/5 with the 4/4 when they attacked in with it. Because if we still had the 5/5 there, they would have killed the 1/3 that draws a card when it hits them. Which means that I would have still had the 1/3 that I can draw and discard cards when I cast non-creature stuff. Which means that next turn I could have cast Rags into draw a card, discard a card, and to make a 2/2 flyer. So I could just start repeatedly hitting them with the 2/2 flyer instead of the 5/5 hexproof. So I think with no information on what the future held there, it would have been better to make that play. With the full hindsight of everything that 5/5 hexproof did for us, it still would have been pretty comparable. The 5/5 hexproof did help a lot, the fact that it stayed around, but just getting some 2/2 Drakes would have been fine too. Definitely cycling, looking for black mana here. Kept this hand because if I hit literally any land, I can cast Trial of Knowledge, and then, I mean, theoretically, by then I'll have drawn 15 cards out of this deck, so I should have both colors. And Wanderer Death lets me cycle for 2, which makes it even more likely. Alright, well, it may cost us here. Because our opponent is aggro. Yeah, this is pretty awful. They can even exert the Avenger, so I can't even trade with anything I block, and I just take 11 here. Yeah, this is the kind of aggressive stuff the format's capable of. I don't get to make any trades, so we'll just take it all. I think I just auto-lose this game. Yeah, that's just dead. I can't cast anything this turn. I block 1 creature, take 4, go to 2. If they don't have a way to untap or play a haste creature. Technically not dead immediately there, I guess, because they exerted that Avenger, so I didn't take that into account. Avenger wasn't going to untap there, so we just go to 2 life, not 0, but yeah, I mean, that was a beating. That was a quick one. Alright. This hand's pretty great. Both of our colors, a cheap removal spell. Now we draw into the Drakehaven. I guess we'll just win any game where we draw a Drakehaven, and it just so happens that we draw a Drakehaven most games. So hopefully that means we just get a nice little win here. I don't really want to trial their little 1-3, because it will embalm later and come back. That being said, the fact that they have the 1-3 out means at any point that I cast this trial, it's just going to kill the 1-3. So Trial of Ambition's just not going to be good here, but maybe if I draw a cartouche or something, it'll be solid. I kind of like holding on to Drakehaven until next turn, because if I play this when I have 1 extra mana after I play it, I can draw, discard with Seeker of Insight, and spend the 1 and get a Drake immediately. So I can just play an Eternal here, and have a nice amount of blockers, which I enjoy. Cast out. Kill that Eternal. Alright. Seeker of Insight actually the more valuable card for our deck, but it is definitely not obvious until you see a Drakehaven. So opponent definitely made the right play on board. The Eternal is scarier. But now that we cast a Drakehaven, Seeker's way scarier. Yeah. So we don't have great blocks here, because we just have a 2-2. So the 2-3 is going to hit us, but we can block the 1-3. And I think it's still good to just start getting the flyers out. Oh no, a 2-3 flyer? 2-3 flying Vigilance too. I definitely enjoy that they didn't attack with Sunscourge Champion. I'll take any bit of safety I can. I guess I play Aven Initiate here so I can trade with Aven Wind Guide, but ideally we'll just be blocking with a 3-4 flyer. This is a game where we're actually just going to cast Shimmer Scale Drake instead of cycle it. Usually I would cycle it, because like 2-2 flyer draw a card is marginally better than 3-4 flyer in a lot of scenarios. Your opponent having a 2-3 flyer is not one of those scenarios. Now we actually just won a big toughness flyer on this board. No, Unconventional Tactics. This card is an absolute house. 3 mana to give something +3/+3 flying until end of turn. They can spend 1 when a zombie enters their battlefield to bring it back from grave to hand. They can just keep doing it, which is absolutely brutal. We are facing a ton of damage there, so I'm going to go ahead and just take the trade with the Wind Guide rather than wait for the 3-4 flyer. Do I want a Trial of Knowledge here, or Shimmer Scaled Drake? I don't need the Drake immediately. They're not going to attack me with flying this turn. They need to spend 1 mana when they play a zombie to get Unconventional Tactics out, which means they'll need 7 mana. They need 6 to play Aven Wind Guide and a 7th to pick up the tactics. So next turn they probably just play Wind Guide, and they have a flyer out, but it's not immediately attacking me. So I'll just Trial of Knowledge here, I think. Draw 3, discard 1. I don't really need the second Seeker. Yeah. I could respond with... No, I guess it won't let me respond. I was going to say, I think I could respond with the Seeker's ability and then try to hit another land here. But I guess then I wouldn't be able to play the land before I need the second mana. Alright, I'm going to just play Desert of the Mindfold here. Mindful. I don't know why I keep calling it Mindfold. That's a little weird. When you're so big brain that it just like folds over itself. Cartouche of Solidarity. That's a 3-4 first strike in Sunscourge Champion now. That's rough. We'll take it. Go to 12. Go pretty low here. Alright, we got 7 mana now. Perfect. Take all the mana I can get. I can cast Aven Initiate now. That's wonderful. Another Trial of Knowledge is great. Draw a bunch of cards and spit out another Drake. And we'll go for a Trial of Knowledge. May as well. We've got the 7 mana for the Riverwinder, so that's wonderful. Play land and still make a Drake. I can draw, discard, make a Drake. I definitely like going for draw, discard over anything else here. Do I play the land first? I don't think I do. I'm probably going to want to play the land, but we'll see what we have here. Oh yeah, I'll discard Naven Initiate over the land. Because I do want that 7th mana. We're racing. We're not racing well, because our opponent has gained a boatload of life, but we're racing. And we're at the point now, I think we can make enough Drakes that we can just start chump blocking now, but we're also at 12, so I don't need to do it yet, so I might as well get as much damage out as possible. But if that is a scenario that needs to happen, we can absolutely chump block a million times with this hand. So, yeah, let's just keep doing our thing. If they don't have a Wrath effect, we're in a really good spot, and the great thing about the Drake Haven is because we're cycling all this stuff, like... we still have a million cards in hand after they Wrath, if they do have a Wrath. So we're so safe to just play around like a lunatic with all these Drakes if we want to. So we hit for 8 here, and now we have 10 on the crackback, guaranteed. And I can make 2 more Drakes at instant speed if I really need them. But we already have lethal, even if they play another flyer here. Seems like a desperation attack. We probably just have it. Yep. We've got lethal without any more Drakes. Attack with 6 of them. They block 1, take 10. Oh, no, they have Anointer Priests. That's right. Well, we'll need more Drakes then. So we'll get them. Alright, they scoop them up. They gain 2 life from the Anointer Priests, which means they're at 12, which means I need 1 more Drake to hit lethal. So we made 1 more, and that was enough. So they scooped them up. Yeah, that was insane. That was the most Drake Haven's done. Absolutely bonkers stuff. So 4 and 2. I would say no matter what happens now, we're pretty much breaking even at 1,400 gems and 3 packs. But this was a free draft, thanks to Wizards. Everybody gets 1 free draft of Amonkhet. 5 days from now, everybody gets 1 free draft of Kaladesh. And then after that, everybody gets 1 free draft of Ikoria. So again, this is just a really, really cool thing to be a part of. Well, I guess everybody's a part of it. But, yeah, I just think it's cool. I think all in all, we're at a better timeline that Jumpstart got delayed because everybody gets 3 free drafts. Drafts are awesome. I don't know. I guess that's probably just me. There's probably a lot of people that were super hype about Jumpstart, where it is a bit of a bummer that Jumpstart got delayed, but like, what a nice consolation prize. Yeah, I like having my double black for Rags, just in case. Definitely getting rid of a land there over one of the Riverwinders, though, because if we would have preferred that this Riverwinder be a land, we can just cycle the Riverwinder at that point. I don't think I will right now, because I have a lot of cards that give me a little bit of value when I cycle something, so I'll wait a bit. Plus, I already have 4 mana, so I'm only 3 away. But if I'm not under any pressure to where I need early cards to play, I'm not going to cycle these Riverwinders. Entangler puts me under a little bit of pressure. Is that enough pressure to want to cycle a Riverwinder, hoping to draw something cheaper? So I have like a 3-drop or something. You know, I think with Guardian, we have a turn 2 play and a turn 4 play. A turn 2 creature to block, a turn 4 creature to block. I think we're doing okay here. And there's a Rags. That is wonderful. That is going to be wonderful against the Boros aggro decks. And it's not even going to look suspicious because we've dropped a 2-drop out, so it's not like we're just sandbagging all our creatures and leaving our board clear for Rags. So they are going to exert the Netcrop Entangler to get in with a 3/3 Trampler over my 2/3 there. No other creatures from them, though. But now Cartouche of Ambition. Can't use that on Labyrinth Guardian, unfortunately. I almost slammed it down immediately, I'm not going to lie to you. I was pretty excited about making a 3/4 lifelink and shooting that Entangler, but that would have been a little bit of a disaster, just a bit. You know, in the position we're in, I think we're cool to chill. Oh. Well, that's pretty awful. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Well, they hit us for 2. They don't have a reason to exert if our board is empty. So they hit us for 2 here. Hopefully play another 2 toughness creature. We slam down Rags next turn and then start doing some other stuff. I guess if nothing else, if they don't play another creature, we just play a 2-3 here. Or if they play a 2-4. That will also not die to Rags. Alright, well, Labyrinth Guardian doesn't die to Rags, and it can block 2 damage here, so I may as well play that. We're blocking 2 damage either way. Playing Rags kills Entangler stops 2 damage. Playing the 2-3 blocks Ritualist stops 2 damage. Ritualist might just be tapping for mana here, though, because they can play some big stuff off of it. Ronos' Monument. When they cast a creature spell, something gets +2/+2 trample. Ooh. Alright, well, what is this? Show me the secrets. Pouncing Cheetah, instant speed creature to give +2/+2 trample, but now we can double kill with Rags. So all in all, I think a fine trade. They have a Fight in grave, have a creature you control fight a creature an opponent controls. So they have a Prey Upon in their grave. So they have Prey Upon and 1 card in hand. Rags is definitely the play here. They just have a Ritualist left over. May have wanted to cycle these Riverwinders more aggressively. That might cost us a bit here. Ooh, yeah, this is rough. If our top card's a land, then not cycling a Riverwinder earlier definitely cost us because we could have slammed down a 3-4 this turn. We definitely go for Trial of Knowledge here, though. Okay, well, our top card was not a land. It was a Drakehaven and then a Seeker of Insight. So even if we cycled those 2, wouldn't be at a land yet. But Drakehaven and Seeker are both good. I think I get rid of 1 Riverwinder, play the land for sure. Maybe cycle the other one. Taking 4 damage here. This is getting real bad. I'm very low. So we can play Drakehaven and cycle Riverwinder for 1, trade with Entangler. I guess they can exert it for trample. Then we can't trade with a Drake. That would be the smart play from them, so they'll almost definitely do that. I could play Seeker of Insight, Cartouche of Ambition, kill Entangler by giving it a -1/-1. Fight is a sorcery speed card, and we'd gain life off of it, and this will be a 2-4. It'll be a 2-4, so it'll survive the fight. Yeah, Seeker of Insight and Cartouche of Ambition actually seems rock solid here. -1/-1 to the Entangler to kill that. Now we have a 2-4 lifelinker against their 2-4. Even if they fight it, it'll be a trade. Because they could fight, do 2 damage, and then I block, it does 2 more damage. Alright, they just have removal. That'll work too. So there goes the lifelink. There goes the rock solid play. Rough one. Trial of Ambition is a rock solid draw. Alright, no hasters, opponent. No hasters. Let me just take over the game with the Drakehaven. Please. I'm begging you. Fingers crossed. No haste. Doesn't have haste, but it's terrifying. I do have a lethal sting. So we will be lethal stinging that. We have 6 mana. We need to lethal sting that thing, or they can just get trample if they draw another creature. Make it a 6/6 trample, which will absolutely kill me even through a Drake token. So to be safe, we have to lethal sting. So we cycle a card here to get a Drake and then lethal sting. In order to do that, we need 3 mana after we cycle. So we can spend 2 to cycle Shimmer Scale Drake, 1 to make the Drake, and then 3 mana to lethal sting. Yeah, I like that. I like holding on to the Riverwinder as a 5/5 hexproof, so we have a blocker that they can't remove with a removal spell in the future. Destroy that. -1/-1 on the Drake. We do want to keep this Evolving Wild, so we have our 7th mana for Riverwinder. I feel like every turn here is just me begging my opponent not to play a creature, or not to play a haster, more specifically. We do have a Riches coming up, so if they don't play a haste creature, we can use Riches to shred something. Well, to steal something, which will be great. So, Trial of Knowledge here is pretty good. Get another Drake to block things. And draw quite a few cards. I should have done this before I played my tapped land, because then if I hit an untapped land, I could play Seeker of Insight. And that's okay, I'll just discard the land. I am once again asking for no hasters from my opponent. Because they could play a haster and then fight and then just win on the spot. Alright, cycle beneath the sands. Opponent's got cycling as well. Man, the Trial of Knowledge coming back with that cartouche play was a huge value swing here. Letting me cast that twice this game is massive. Oh no, they're looking at my graveyard. Please don't have something to exile my riches. Maybe they have a creature that doesn't have haste, and because I have riches engraved, they just don't want to play it. That's almost definitely what's going on. Alright. We have Wander and Death, Horror of the Broken Lands. We can just keep spitting out 2/2s. I like playing as many creatures as possible, so I'd rather do that than anything else, because it keeps me with a lot of cards in hand and a lot of board presence. Just keep the board as wide as possible that way. Rather than spending 7 for a 5/5 or 5 for a 4/4 here, we can spend 2 for a 2/2 and do that multiple times this turn and just have a lot of 2/2s instead of one singular like 5/5 or something. I like the land, but I might want to discard in the future to like a Seeker of Insight. I actually like keeping Wander and Death in hand here, so I like cycling the River Winders first. They're also cheaper to cycle. But then we can Wander in Death if we really need a River Winder in the future. I need another blue source if I want to cycle another River Winder and cast Seeker. So, do I just cast Seeker here? Yeah, I'll just cast Seeker here. And I'll pass the turn holding this land to discard to it. Well, they get to shuffle the riches back into our grave with Survive here. I hate that when I zoom into this, it doesn't show you the full text of it. I try to zoom in on each card for a little while if I remember to. Just with the right click. So you can see it for a moment. Well, I'm surprised they didn't do that. I guess they still have a fight in their grave, which is important to them. I think Riches is stronger. Okay. I still want to play it super safe. So I don't want to attack too hard here. So we'll go Trial, we'll discard Swamp, get a dude. Consign. I love Consign here. I'm actually just going to discard an Aven Initiate so I can hold this mana. I want a ton of mana. Yeah, I like just playing... I guess I only have 3 mana up here. I like just holding up the 2 for Consign then. Could draw discard with Seeker and make another creature here. Alright. Hit again, hold up Consign, play it really safe. End step, they're not killing me on the spot here, so we'll cycle Riverwinder now. Though we don't need to hold up Consign because we're not dead. I don't know what could kill me on the spot here, but there's probably some kind of big haster that is unblockable or something. I don't know. 10, 11, they're dead. Not quite yet, but they're dead next turn. Now I hold up Consign and the ability to make multiple more Drakes. Alright, a Braid kills 1. They have a lot of removal in the deck for sure. He's not going to dig through the whole mountain of Drakes that I have. Holding up all my instant speed stuff, I can make 2 more Drakes and consign one of their creatures here. So we look tapped out, but we still have blockers if we need them. Alright, they're super dead on board, fights a sorcery, survives a sorcery. Alright, that's game. I don't need to go overboard, he would just attack all. Their whole, everything they have is revealed to us. Alright. That was scary. Really thought I was going to get crushed early game there. Some really big aggressive plays early on with that first Entangler, but that'll lead us into 5-2 here with blue-black cycling. This is really just a showcase for Drakehaven. Can take a mediocre draft that doesn't have a clear picture of where it's going, and just make it a 5-2 deck at least. So Drakehaven has been the card of the day for sure. Absolutely phenomenal card for us. Oh, it's Zapgaze. I don't know where I've heard that name, but I definitely have. Probably on Twitch. All right. Opponent starts with a Desert of the Indomitable. We will start with a Seeker of Insight. This card has overperformed, mainly because we have Drakehaven, but this card has been absolutely sweet. Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs. All right, hold up our consign here. Just drop an Evolving Wilds, I guess. Oh wow, they've got all the deserts. Desert of the Indomitable, Ifnir Deadlands, Edifice of Authority. Their deck is sweet. So the Ifnir Deadlands let them sacrifice lands, sacrifice deserts to give something -2/-2. So their lands can become removal spells in the late game. Edifice of Authority is basically Icy Manipulator, stops us from attacking for a few turns, and then it's just full on Icy, stops something from attacking, blocking, or activating abilities. So Edifice is great here. Opponent's deck is phenomenal in general so far. And Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs is just going to sit here pinging us for 1 damage a turn. So they have a great late game position here just off the lands. Getting a lot of value. I guess we could consign their Edifice just to slow them down, but I'd rather just draw some cards here. Let's see what we got. Wanderer in Death, Aven Initiate, Rags to Riches. Next turn we're going to play Drake. We're going to play Riverwinder a little bit after that. Kind of like discarding Initiate, because it doesn't fit into our upcoming plays anytime soon. We're not going to block anything here, so we may as well draw discard. I do like the 6th land, so I kind of like discarding Rags to Riches. They only have a 0/4. I don't know how many 2 toughness things they'll play here. Maybe we discard Wanderer in Death, but I really like that as a late game play. Yeah, discard a Rags to Riches. Guess we'll find out if they play a bunch of 2 toughness stuff next turn. That'll be sad. They just drop 3 1-mana 1/1s out of nowhere. But from the looks of their deck, I mean, Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs, Edifice of Authority, I just expect a lot of late game out of them. Green, black, and blue here. There's a Shadowstorm Vizier, a 1/3, so another card that won't die to Rags. And, well, a 1/3 flyer we can block with a 3/4 flyer all day. Let's just get that set up, I think. Down to 18. The wall going to be chipping away at us throughout here. Pretty soon, once this Edifice has 3 brick counters on it, they can shut off our blocks, but for now we're good. Alright, cycle 1 card to the Shadowstorm Vizier. They'll have to cycle 2 more to kill the Drake on an attack here, but only one more to bounce it. Yeah, it's probably not worth the risk. We'll just take 2. I guess at 2/4 it's already a bounce. If I don't block. Or if I do block. So we have 6 mana now. 1 mana away from our big spells. We can go for like a consign at the end of their turn to try to get a good riches off. To steal whatever we want. If we go for a Consign, we have 4 mana to play around with here, so we play like an Aven Initiate seems good. Yeah, Aven Initiate or Trial of Knowledge here. I'll go with an Initiates, play a land, hold up Consign. Because Consign lets us bounce one of their creatures, and then Riches will actually steal something good if we just get rid of their worst creature with it, which will probably just be the wall, so that we can have all their flyers, or all of the flyers on the board. Alright, no attacks from Shimmerscale Drake here. And next turn it will get the 3rd brick counter, but it doesn't get to stop blocks until it does get the 3rd brick counter, so next turn it won't be stopping any blocks. Alright, they just pass turn here. I do need to hit another land to cast Riches, so if I can sign here, I'm very much hoping to top deck a land off of Seeker plus Draw Step. You know what? I'm just going to go for it anyway. I don't know if this is dumb, but we'll go for it here. Come on, RNGesus. There's the land. Goodbye, Wandering Death, I guess. Wandering Death's pretty good. But so is Riverwinder, and that'll be our 7th land, so... I think Trial of Knowledge is better than either. Alright. Work! Please! No! Censored. Well, that's rough. That's a sad time all around. I guess we get to draw discard off of the Seeker of Insight here. If they have 1 card to cycle, Aven Initiate dies here. Yeah, Shadowstorm's really good at just stopping 3/2 flyers. Because just the threat of cycling a card is pretty rough. I guess if nothing else, we get to like confirm if they have a cycler in hand if we send the attack in. Probably not worth it. Discard the Silence, see what we draw. Another Striped Riverwinder. Alright, don't mind if I do. At least the censor's gone, so they won't counter any of those. Or they're less likely to, at least. And they've got hexproof, so they can't edifice them. So we'll just start slamming down hexproofers, I guess. Hope for the best. Ooh, no aggressive edifice there. Ooh, Trial of Ambition's good. We're going to have 3 trials out by the time we draw our cartouche this game, which will be really nice. So we'll go to combat first, make it less likely they have mana up for a counter if they do have another one. So they're going to edifice the Drake. I feel like... no, they probably wouldn't get aggressive even if they had a cycler in hand, so we'll go to main phase 2. 5/5 hexproof. There we go, we can start slamming in with that thing at least, if we can't get in with the flyers. Hexproof is pretty huge here. Wasteland Scorpion, well, never mind. That's a Death Toucher. That is a Death Toucher and a half. Well, I guess we can still trade. Get a creature off the board off this attack. That's also a cycler, so that's 1 cycler down. Make it a little less likely they're cycling into the Shadowstorm Vizier. But I have got this feeling that they've still got cyclers. Alright, let's get this Scorpion off the board. Sorry, Riverwinder. But you are expendable. We've got another. This Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs is doing work. We're down to 13 off of, I think, exclusively the wall. Actually, no, the Shadowstorm Vizier hit us once for a couple damage. But mostly the wall. Mostly the wall. Naga Oracle. Look at the top 3 cards of the library. Put any back on top, the rest into the graveyard. So basically a Surveil 3, sort of a Scry 3 kind of effect. Couple lands and 1 good card. They have 3 toughness here. Stripe Riverwinder is going to be great, especially with a Cartouche. We play a Trial, then a Cartouche, then a Trial. They've got 2 mana up here. We'll see if they have a counterspell. If they don't, this is going to be beautiful. Sack the 2/4. Here's a Trial, or a Cartouche of Ambition. Gain some life. Now they sack the Wall, or the Vizier. What a fantastic draw. Cartouche of Ambition is huge here with these 2 Trials on board. They just scoop them up. They don't want to deal with it. 6/6 hexproof lifelink, plus making them sack another creature. That is just going to be game for them. And 6 and 2 we are, which means we get to head into a final boss, win or lose. Ooh. Wow. What a return to Amonkhet here. Whatever happens, getting the maximum number of games out of this draft. 9 games. Whether we win or lose, that's kind of maximum value. That's the maximum amount of playtime, at least. Here we go. Final boss. And we get the Drake Haven turn 3 for our final game. Let's hope this is an omen of good things to come, but we have lost a game or 2 with Drake Haven. I think one of our losses we didn't have Drake Haven, but one we did. So, this isn't a guaranteed win, but Drake Haven, as we have seen, is quite powerful and can absolutely take over a game, so it is a great start regardless. And hopefully it is good enough. A lot of blue cards in hand, but I do always like having access to rags. And I've got another Evolving Wilds and no card I really want to play on turn 2. I guess I could play a Consign just to slow them down because we have a Drake Haven coming up. Yeah, that seems good to me because I'm probably going to play a Drake Haven turn 3 and turn 4 I'll just cycle Riverwinder, get a Drake, and play the Evolving Wilds. Then I'll Trial of Knowledge turn 5 once I have 5 mana, so I can spend 4 on that and 1 to make a Drake. Yeah, I think the way that our hand pans out here, we can play Consign here, then turn 3 Drake Haven, and then turn 4 cycle, make a Drake, turn 5 Trial, make a Drake. So we'll just slow them down, stop as much damage as possible, because if this game lasts long enough for a Drake Haven to go off, then we're definitely going to win, or at least be in a really good position. So I'm just going to do everything I can to give me the time to set up the Drake Haven, because it does require us tapping out to put no creatures on board here. Enigma Drake is a flyer. Alright, here's the Drake Haven. They're playing blue-red, so I doubt they have any way to get rid of it, but they could have a way to bounce it in blue. But pretty sure it's just going to sit on the board and remain. Not a ton of main deckable artifact and enchantment hate in Amonkhet Remastered. Definitely nowhere near as much as in Dungeons & Dragons. Alright, well, opponent's getting quite aggressive. We definitely want to draw into like rags here. So I definitely like cycling and drawing as many cards as possible. So cycling 1 this turn, drawing 3 next turn seems really good. Just digging for rags to clear out this board. I guess a 2/3 blocks pretty well if they don't have prowess, because it'll block this little Spellweaver Eternal. But the Burning Fist Minotaur is first strike and can discard a card to get bigger, so it's not going to block that well. I guess for 4 mana I could play Labyrinth Guardian and a Drake. So I guess we go for that, play the untapped land here, wait on the Evolving Wilds, but that means we don't get to play Trial of Knowledge next turn unless we hit another untapped land. Probably worth it. Again, I want to play as defensively of my life total as possible and make sure I've got as many blocks as I can. I guess we have Oblivion next turn if we hit another land as well. That actually might have been a good argument for just dropping Evolving Wilds and guaranteeing 5 mana. Because if we hit the 5 mana, we just clear their whole hand out, but then we're not affecting the board, so we probably can't spend the time on that. Okay, so they do have removal for Labyrinth Guardian, and the Prowess trigger for the Eternal. Which is not good for us all around. If they don't have another Prowess, then we can hopefully trade with the Eternal with a Drake here. So we'll see. It's holding on them. They almost definitely have an instant here. I guess if they have an instant, my 2/2 dies wherever I put it. If I put it on Enigma Drake and then they cast an instant, the Enigma Drake becomes a 2/4. If I put it on an Eternal and they have it, Eternal turns into a 4/3. So because it's going to die either way I block, I might as well do the one that might trade if we're lucky. Oh, it's because Burning Fist Minotaur's effect is just holding because that can be used at instant speed. Alright, so we do get a trade-off, that's good. Cartouche of Knowledge on the Minotaur makes it a 3/2 flying first strike, which is big and scary. Trial of Knowledge make a Drake here. Block their Drake and take the Minotaur damage for now. Digging for Rags. Yeah, we're not going to Oblivion their one card in hand. I guess we missed the opportunity to go for Oblivion here. They've just dumped their hand too quickly, so we won't be making them discard anything. Come on, Rags. What a weird card to be looking for. In terms of the name of the card, be like, yeah, I want some Rags. That's what I'm looking for. So next turn we're probably just spending 5 mana, right? Just make a Drake. A Shimmer Scale Drake, that is. I guess we could spend 6, make 2/2/2 Drakes, and draw 2 cards, and we're looking for removal for the Minotaur, so we probably do want to dig for cards. So yeah, we'll get rid of Evolving Wilds, keep our untapped land then, because we play an untapped land turn 6, do 2 3-mana cards. But yeah, I mean, trying to kill a Burning Fist Minotaur by blocking it is going to be brutal, because they can make it a 5-power first striker, so we'll need to block it with, like, 4 Drakes, because if we block it with 3, they kill 2 of them first strike. I guess we only need to block it with 3 Drakes. Because, yeah, they have 5 first strike damage, they can kill 2 Drakes with that, then they don't have any regular combat damage. Zealot of the God Pharaoh, 5 mana to deal 2 to an opponent or Planeswalker. Well, Trial of Ambition isn't bad here. To the point where I probably am supposed to cast it, just clear out this board a little bit. Probably gets rid of the Zealot. Maybe it gets rid of Enigma Drake here, because it's just the smallest power. It does, okay. And now I could play a Shadowstorm Vizier, and that can block as a 2/4 if I cycle a card, but if I cycle a card to it, I only have 2 mana cyclers in hand. So I couldn't make a Drake after doing that. I can make 1 Drake or 1 Vizier. If I make a Drake, I draw a card, though. I want to make 1 Vizier here. We can double block Zealot. They can only kill 1 of these. So now, yeah, they just attack with Minotaur. If they cycle to the Minotaur, it becomes a 5/2 first strike. If they discard, or I guess if they discard to it. If they discard both, they can win combat. If they discard just 1, they first strike away my Drake, I guess? Yeah, they have to discard both cards to win at combat here. They put the Vizier first. Alright, then I don't need to discard a card to Vizier, because even if I discard a card to Vizier, it'll die in first strike. Okay, so we'll hold our cyclers then. Alright, they do discard a card. They need to discard 1 more to survive this combat. Actually, no, I do have to discard to make it so that this is 4, so that will survive. Alright. Okay. So to force them into discarding another card, I have to cycle here, make it a 2/4. Don't need full control anymore here. Just trying to play it safe with that. So we force them to discard whatever card they don't want to discard here. And then they don't have any... They have like 1 card off the top they could discard next turn. We also just take no damage here, which is definitely good. Eternal of Harsh Truths is the draw. Okay. So make 2 Drakes, draw 2 cards. We can double block Minotaur with 2 Drakes. I guess we need 3 Drakes for that. We can double block Zealot, though. They can only hit for 5 if they just discard whatever they draw. Alright. Digging for that removal. Seeker's not awful. I think I'd rather discard the desert here. That might be wrong, but I think I would. Alright, well, we hit the 7th land anyway, which I do think I kind of want. A 3/4 flyer isn't bad here because it can block Minotaur and force a discard. We can also force a discard with a double block. I do think, yeah, I was going to say, I do think it's better to just keep drawing cards and digging for like the Lethal Sting type card here. So 7 mana. 3 for Lethal Sting, which means we have 4 to play around with as we choose. 4 mana to do whatever we want with. Put a Labyrinth Guardian on this board. It was not great, but gives us something to Lethal Sting that we don't care about making weaker. Probably rather just play an Eternal of Harsh Truths, to be honest. Or even a Seeker of Insight for the future. These are all pretty good. Could also draw a card off the Drake. Let's play an Eternal, I guess. No removal, please. Or no counterspell, please. Okay. I definitely need the 2/2s to block the Zealot. We're gonna have to deal with the Zealot pretty soon, or it can kill us with that 2 damage. So we have to deal with all these cards. We take 2 a turn, so we're on a 4-turn clock at this point. You know what, that might have been the wrong creature to kill. That might cost me the game. Maybe I was supposed to just kill the Zealot. But then I just keep getting chipped for 3 by the friggin' first strike nonsense. So a Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs is also really bad. Now we die in like 3 turns instead of 4. Can make them discard their 1 card in hand. We have 8 mana. We definitely have to start getting aggressive with these Drakes. Let's see what we draw. We're getting 1 less power out by cycling, but by cycling we could hit another cycling card or something to get a lot more power out in the long run. Discard their 1 card in hand or put 2 Seekers out. 2 Seekers out's really good with Drakehaven. Then we can cast Oblivion and double Seeker next turn. Yeah. Alright. Do we attack with Eternal just to chump attack? Because it does hit for 2. I do that at some point. I guess I can only cash it in the 1 time. Okay, so they're hitting us for 3 damage a turn now. So they hit us for 3. Ooh, Striped Riverwinder. Is it better to just get more flyers here? Possibly. It's definitely better to Oblivion right now because we get 2 more flyers there. That's 4 damage instead of 5. It's 1 less damage, but we also draw discard twice that way. And it's evasive damage. It's Oblivion here. They've gotten a bomb card, but it costs them 5. They've got a Supreme Will that they chose not to counter that with. Interesting. I guess if they countered it, they just have Aven Initiate in hand, so it's not that crazy. I don't know who wins this race. I'm mega bad at math, and the way that we play is the same either way, so it doesn't really matter. We just dump out as many Drakes as possible and attempt to win the race. We take 3 here, we take 3 in their next turn. So we need to kill them next turn. So we hit for 6 in the sky, then we hit for 10 in the sky. We win the race, currently. We even hit them with Eternal for 2. Yeah, or we draw a card off of it. I guess I need to double block Zealot if I do that. Or I need to block Zealot, period. Probably not worth the attack. Because then if they do the 3 damage there, and then 3 damage during their turn, we go to 1 life, and then we have to block Zealot. In order to block Zealot, if Eternal is tapped, we have to lose a flyer, and if we lose a flyer, then we're only hitting for 8 in the sky. And then for 1 on the ground, because one of these gets blocked by the wall. So we wouldn't have lethal anymore if we're forced to chump block with one of our flyers. Alright. So I think the correct play, if we had attacked them with Eternal of Harsh Truce, the correct play for them would just be to let it through, let me draw the card, like whatever, I've drawn a million cards this game anyway. In which case, that puts us in the position of here, they put us to 1 life and then attack, and we have to block with at least 1 Drake, so we don't immediately kill them next turn. Because, yeah, 8 in the sky, block that, plus 1 on the ground, that's 9. So, yeah, not attacking with Eternal is better there, but it's pretty close. All right. Well, that was a stressful, crazy draft all around, but blue-black cycling takes it. Mainly just Drakehaven takes it. That is the biggest takeaway of this draft. Drakehaven was an absolute house. Trials and Cartouches is always one of the best value plays you can do in this format. Always going to be a very good time. Double Trial of Knowledge, 1 Trial of Ambition, even just the single Cartouche of Ambition came in super clutch in the couple of games where we did draw it. This is a good card in general, giving lifelink and potentially killing one of your opponent's cards, but when you have a Trial or 2 on the board, it's such a huge swing to be able to draw another 3 cards or make them sacrifice another creature, as we saw in round 8 there, the one right before the final round. The double Trial of Ambition was what forced the concession at the end there. So really, really solid stuff here. Really fun deck in general. And yeah, I had a pretty great time. I do like this format in general, so I think I will definitely be doing a 1 or 2 more of these whenever I have the time. And of course, we have Kaladesh coming up in 5 days, and then Ikoria and Historic Horizons after that. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video and you want that YouTube algorithm to feed more of the videos to you, just like, comment, subscribe. All of those will feed into the algorithm. And yeah, just yet again, as always, thank you all very much for watching. I will be back again as soon as I can for some more Magic Arena. And I have 3 more packs to open, so I gotta fill some airtime here that did not line up perfectly. What do we got? What do we got? Ooh, Samet, Voice of Dissent. We've got some really good pulls in these final packs. Got a Wrath of God as well. Super nice stuff. Final pack of the day is a hollow one. Another card that could be a big historic card at some point. Anyways, yet again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon.